Hello, and welcome to this, our second episode of the new and improved Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Sergeant Javier Salazar. There are hundreds of miles of streets, roads, and highways through the city of San Antonio. One of the main jobs of the SAPD is to patrol those roadways and keep them safe for everyone. On this episode of Behind the Badge, we'll focus on two initiatives aimed at saving lives through public education and enforcement. Our first segment deals with DWI enforcement. We'll tell you about the efforts of our DWI unit, whose main task is to detect and safely remove drunk drivers from our roadways, and how this dedicated group of officers is gearing up for one of the busiest times of the year, the holidays. Now, holiday enforcement starts sooner than most people might think, and you may be surprised at some of the information you'll hear in our show. We'll also hear about some innovative and non-traditional approaches the SAPD takes to DWI enforcement and education. Later in our show, Officer Roger Zuniga will bring us some information about another highway safety initiative called TACT. I don't want to give away too much, but TACT stands for Ticketing Aggressive Cars and Trucks and urges drivers to use caution around 18-wheelers and other commercial motor vehicles. It's going to be an informative show, so join us right after this short break.
Hi, I'm Danny Green of the San Antonio Spurs, and I'm here with Chief McManus to talk to you about graffiti. It's not art when you're vandalizing someone else's property. It's just plain disrespectful.
Most importantly, it's a crime. Graffiti can get you big fines and even prison time. And it costs American taxpayers over $8 billion a year.
Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. Devote your time to keeping San Antonio clean and beautiful.
Team up with us to wipe out graffiti.
Team up!
Welcome back to Behind the Badge. As I mentioned before the break, the focus of our first segment today is SAPD's efforts in combating DWIs and our partnerships with other stakeholders who help us with this endeavor. Joining us now are Captain Tracy Powers of the DWI unit and Sandra Ledesma from Mothers Against Drunk Driving, or MADD. Welcome to the show, both of you guys. Thanks for coming on. Captain and Sandra, just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the fact that we're gearing up for the holiday DWI enforcement. Captain, can you tell us about that?
Well, every time this time of the year, Halloween's around the corner. Nationally, Halloween is a pretty large holiday for underage drinking, DWIs. In San Antonio, we quite haven't seen it as bad as nationally has, but like everything else, we're trying to get ahead of the curve and be ready for it. So we're gearing up by putting extra officers out. Thankfully, to TxDOT and their STEP grants, we're able to put out an additional 15 officers a night during the holidays. Okay. So we'll probably have an additional 7,500 officers out there over a 5-day time period, along with our normal DWI officers.
Okay, so that's one that actually caught me by surprise the first time I heard it, because Halloween's not a holiday that we typically associate with DWI enforcement and fatalities. What do you attribute that to?
Well, when we were kids, and I'll date myself back into the 60s and 70s, Halloween was kids going door to door, and as I got older, Halloween waned. I mean, no one was doing Halloween a few years ago, even my kids were in high school. But what we've seen is an uptick where Halloween's become an adult holiday now, and people are grabbing hold of it for costume parties, having events at bars, and having private parties come dressed up, and it's becoming more of a drinking, let's go out and have fun and party. And what we have to really worry about is when Halloween falls on. If it falls on a Wednesday, it's not so bad. If it falls on a Thursday, it's starting to get worse. If it falls on a Friday or Saturday, we have a lot of problems. So we're trying to make sure that when we hit it on a weekend, San Antonio is prepared. So we're getting plenty of officers out there, and we've had STEP come in and help us out by putting additional officers out there, and also all the substations are helping us out. And like I said, we haven't had the problem here in San Antonio. I don't want to have the problem, so we're trying to gear up and be prepared for it.
An ounce of prevention.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Well, I know that a big part of what we do is education. Obviously, DWI is not a problem that you can arrest away, to use a phrase that Chief McManus uses quite prominently. Absent the fact that we can arrest this problem away, obviously education is a big factor in it. What are we doing to that end, to education? And Sandra, if you can tell us a little bit about what MADD's role in education is.
Okay, our role is going out into the community, into schools, speaking to the public, let them know that about prevention awareness. If you're going to be out there drinking, to designate a driver. We work alongside with SAPD. We do have Detective Johnson that comes with us and does a lot of presentations just to, to get the word out there about prevention, awareness, education, so everybody so we can keep our community safe for everyone.
Good, good. Well, that's definitely admirable, and we do appreciate MADD's efforts in helping us out, being a stakeholder. Also, I guess we can talk about something else that MADD is a member of is Team DWI. Captain, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, long before I became the commander of the DWI unit, Chief McManus started a concept called Team DWI. And what Team DWI is, it's a collection of different people, agencies, who have an interest in impaired driving on our roadways. I don't want to say intoxication because there are other things besides alcohol involved. And it started off about 4 years ago, and it's really starting to pick up steam now as it's finally growing into maturity. We have different people come in. We have Mothers Against Drunk Driving, RUI, the district attorney is a participant. We have Cox Communication, Yellow Cabs involved. And I reached out about 6 months ago and invited the bars that we were having in San Antonio that were having some of the bigger problems that we were seeing with DWIs. And we had a terrific response. And now we have several of the top bars in San Antonio coming in, and they're bringing in other agencies, other people in to see what we're doing. And Team DWI is basically, we all get together about every other month, talk about what's happened in the last month or two, talk about some of the problems we're seeing, and asking for, does anybody have any ideas? What can we do? And we're always looking for a better idea. I don't have all the answers. And some of the bars have come forward and said, why can't we put taxi stands at our bars? We're addressing that. Yellow Cab, who is one of our participants, has stepped in. And we want other cab companies to join us too. So our membership is not just for a select group of law enforcement officers. It's for everybody. Now we have the Constable Precinct 3 is involved. Bexar County Sheriff's Department is actively participating with us. And now because of Team DWI, we are now orchestrating all of our projects together around major holidays so that we're not hitting the same spot, but we're working in conjunction with each other to try to make it better. That's all. The best way I can put it is we're making it better. And with Team WI now we're able to use some of our data resources. We're data driven on some of our information. We're presenting it, showing where our hot spots are for DWI activity, where our hot spots are for bar activity, and we're putting it all together and we're sharing it with the county, with the constable's office, and the other department that wants to become involved with us, and attacking those areas to try to stop the DWIs before they happen.
Okay.
On the side note, we're educating, okay? Because of Team DWI, and thankfully to TxDOT, we've reached out and got a Tahoe, a newer model Tahoe is being wrapped to be used for educational purposes at any public event that's approved and goes through our safe office at the central safe office. And we're going to be able to take a Tahoe out that's wrapped, talking about the dangers of DWI, and we'll be pulling behind us on a flatbed pickup, on a flatbed, we'll be pulling a car that was involved in a 2010 fatality that the family has graciously allowed us to use their vehicle that they lost their loved one in to help teach people the dangers of drunk driving and impaired driving.
Sure. I mean, it's to anybody that's seen that display, and I've seen that vehicle that you're talking about, it really hits home. It's a poignant reminder of the dangers of drunk driving, because it affects us all. You know, people say, I've heard people say, well, you know, I don't need to worry about DWI. I don't drink and drive. But you can attest to the fact that it does affect and has the potential to affect just about everybody in San Antonio, correct?
Well, it affects everybody. It can happen to anybody. And the police officers are usually first on the scene to a fatality or a major accident. It affects us. I've personally been on site to at least 10 fatality accidents involving alcohol over the last few years. And I emotionally carry it with me every day, thinking of what happened with the loss of families and loved ones. And when you see what the families have to go through, because it's a wasted life,
Sure.
basically. And it hurts the family of the person that was involved. I mean, their family's losing a loved one, probably to be incarcerated for a few years because of what they've done. And if we can get one person to stop and think about what they're doing at a party because they've seen either the wrecked vehicle, our Tahoe, been to Team DWI, been to a Mad Walk, anything that we can do to prevent that one person from going out on the streets or taking the right action, calling a cab or having a friend drive them, we've been successful. Because I look at it this way, every person that we pull off the street for DWI in an arrest is a life or two lives saved.
Sure.
And it's hard to wrap yourself around that, but it's they're driving a 3,000-pound bomb when they're driving it drunk.
Sure.
And we just want to pull them off the street. And we'll use education, we'll use arrest, and we'll use the DWI court that's coming up to help us prevent future problems.
Well, that's great. And you know, back to MAD. We're working together on a project. My office is, and Captain, your office is working on this as well. And I guess the public can look forward to seeing in the near future a PSA that we're going to be putting out with MAD. Y'all are devoting some of your interns to help us in the production of this PSA. And the interesting part of this is we're actually going to be using some SAPD officers that are in the PSA, that are appearing in it, that have been personally affected. Officer Thornton, Michael Thornton being one of them. That his story is one that I like hearing it. It's a success story. Michael Thornton was struck by a DWI driver, lost a leg, and actually fought his way through rehab and getting back in. He's actually back in uniform fighting DWIs.
He works for me, and he's doing a fantastic job.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, and I know that MAD is also devoting some of the interns that I actually met the people that are going to be in it with us, and some of them have actually been touched firsthand by DWIs, as many people at MAD have.
Right. We do have interns that have been affected by a drunk driver. So when they come into our office, they see not just from the outside, but from the inside too. So we all work together with you all so we can do those ride-alongs, just so they can get that closer, look at what it is to be out there when these people are out there, to make sure that, once again, keeping our community safe.
You've got an event that you wanted to talk about today that MAD is hosting. Can you tell us about it?
We're going to be having our Walk Like MAD event coming up October 19th. Our website is walklikemad.org. Anybody wants to sign up their team, to walk in memory of their loved one, they can just go on to the website and sign up. And it's going to be at the AT&T Center, so everybody's welcome to come and join us.
It sounds like it's going to be a great event, and we certainly wish you the best. We will actually have information on it as well. We'll put a link on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/San Antonio PD. So it's our pleasure to assist you guys for all that you guys do for us. It's believe me.
And we're going to have a pet zone, so bring your animals, your dogs, your loved ones, your little ones, bring them with you.
It's a pet-friendly event. That's perfect. That's great for San Antonio. Captain.
Well, I just let you know that San Antonio Police Department's DWI unit has two teams that participate in this event. Team Night Watch and Team Stephanie Brown, in honor of Officer Stephanie Brown that lost her life to a drunk driver.
Correct.
A year ago plus. So we'll be there with our dogs too.
Okay.
And I just want to remind everybody that the DWI unit, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we can't do it without you. We need the public's help in curbing the DWIs, curbing the fatality accidents, and it's you. It's on you to help us. We're just one facet, and like anything else, we can't work by ourselves. So San Antonio, step up, help us out. Let's curb these DWIs and help out. We got Fiesta coming in the future, so we got to get prepared.
And we will, and we'll be there.
Yes, sir.
Well, I just can't say enough good things about everything that Team DWI does, our DWI unit, and of course our partners in all these endeavors, MAD, TxDOT, some of our other fellow stakeholders in Team DWI. Can't say enough good things about them. I do thank both of you for both of your outfits for all of your hard work, and thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. We look forward to having you both back on at some point in the future.
Thank you.
It's obvious the SAPD DWI unit takes their job seriously, and so do our partners in Team DWI, who help us educate the public and save lives. We're going to take another short break, and then Officer Roger Zuniga and another special guest will be talking to us about TACT, ticketing aggressive cars and trucks. It's another initiative that the SAPD uses that's aimed at saving lives. Stick around.
Scenes like this are alarming but preventable. I'm San Antonio Police Chief William McManus, and I'm here to remind you that it's possible for cars and bicycles to coexist, but it's vital to do so safely. According to the San Antonio Safe Passage Ordinance, vehicles must provide vulnerable road users like bicycles with a safe buffer zone of 3 to 6 feet when passing. Bicycle riders should know that all rules of the road apply to them just as they do cars. All traffic signals and signs apply to bicycles. Let's work together, share the road, and look out for each other, San Antonio. It's the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do. It's also the law.
Welcome back to Behind the Badge. I'm Officer Roger Zuniga. Today, I'm talking to Officer Wayne Alsop with the SAPD Traffic Division. He assists and oversees the TACT program and is here to tell us a bit about it. Officer Alsop, welcome to the show.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Tell us a bit about TACT and what it stands for and what it is.
TACT basically is an acronym for Ticketing Aggressive Cars and Trucks. And just kind of a brief history on it. In 2004, federal government, Congress, kind of got with NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and basically tasked them to come up with an idea to educate passenger car drivers on how they react and drive around big trucks or 18-wheelers. So they came up with the TACT project, is what.
Okay. So can you talk about what are the missions and the goals of TACT?
The mission or the goal is to reduce accidents and involving 18-wheelers, fatalities, injury, and non-injuries, all accidents within the city of San Antonio.
Okay. What exactly do you look for during TACT enforcement? What are you out there looking for as far as issues with drivers, 18-wheelers?
TACT is kind of there's a couple of different tiers to the TACT project. The first is the enforcement, and we have two sub-tiers to that. One, we have highway enforcement, which is made up of highway traffic officers. They'll go out and look for any type of aggressive driving violations, for example, tailgating, cutting off trucks, failure to signal, speeding, failure to give right-of-way, things along that nature, and of course anything, multiple violations consisting of an aggressive nature. And the officers will take the necessary action to their discretion. The second sub-tier to that involves our truck enforcement officers or truck enforcement unit, and they will pull over 18-wheelers or commercial vehicles of any sort and do a typical, what we refer to as a DOT inspection. They look for any type of equipment violations, driver violations, or anything that may throw up a red flag.
Okay. Now I hear a lot of people complaining that, well, there's truckers that are aggressive as well. Do these programs apply to truckers as well, enforcement against truckers or on truckers as well?
Yes, the program is designed to not just target passenger cars, but also commercial vehicles as well. So basically, if a trucker is committing any of those violations that I spoke of, they will be stopped, and they are subject to the same type of enforcement that a regular car would be.
Okay. We talked about what aggressive driving is. Can you talk about it a little bit more in depth? Because people sometimes ask, well, what constitutes aggressive driving? Can you talk about that just a bit?
Usually aggressive driving, in addition to the violations that I spoke of before, a lot of times aggressive driving is those type of violations in multiples. So if you're tailgating, weaving in and out, a high rate of speed, and you're doing it continuous, or basically more than once, multiple times, that's going to tend to show some aggressive behavior, and you're pretty much going to stick out from the rest of the crowd, and that'll get people's attention. So that kind of defines what the aggressive driving is, or what we look for.
Yeah, I think people have a misconception that, oh, he's aggressively driving just from one thing. It's not one thing. It's a pattern of things. Several different offenses that you see that constitute aggressive driving. Now I know we've done some spots with Ed McCombs commercials and stuff like that. What do we have in the future as far as upcoming commercials or PIOs or PSAs to get the message out there to everybody to make it hit home?
That's actually the second part of the whole TACT program. It's very big on what we refer to as public information and education. Mr. Ed McCombs and Chief McManus, they did do our TV spot, which I thought was great. In addition to that, we have radio spots that should be airing here if they haven't already started. We've done some small commercials that you might see if you go to the movie theater. Before your movies, they have those advertisements that roll. Just a real quick spot, just a reminder that on your way there or when you left the movie theater to kind of respect the trucks around you, because they're not able to maneuver the same way you would. You may notice billboards around town. If you're stopped by an officer and they are working overtime on this particular project, If they have them available, they will hand out an informational card that will describe exactly what this program is, why we're out there, and what our mission is or our goal, which is to reduce accidents. They'll hand it to you despite the disciplinary action. Whether you get a ticket or a warning, you'll still get one of these cards. And that is just another way to educate the drivers, truckers alike, on what our focus is for this project.
It seems that a lot of people tend to be in a hurry nowadays on the highways, or they're impatient. I think a lot of these issues are caused by these factors. And a lot of times people think, well, the 18-wheelers are here, he should see me. But I know a lot of times on the 18-wheelers on the backs, they have the placard saying, if you can't see his mirrors, he can't see you. Is there a misconception where people don't think that's the case, or they don't quite understand how trucks operate and what they see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's huge. A good rule of thumb is take a look at what you drive. You drive a regular sized car. It's got 4 wheels versus a big 18-wheeler, being probably one of the largest commercial vehicles that's out there. They've got 18 wheels. If you look at the weight of your car, 2, maybe 3,000 pounds for a normal sized car. Well, these 18-wheelers can get upwards to about 80,000 pounds. So I mean, the numbers there ought to show that even if you're involved in some sort of a collision, the 18-wheeler is usually going to come out better in that incident because they're bigger, they're larger, which also reflects to the fact that they're not able to stop the way you can stop. They can't whip in and out of lanes and maneuver the same way that you can. They just don't have the capability. Their size. It's almost like a David versus Goliath type thing.
Right,
It's not possible for them to be able to move as quickly as the smaller vehicles.
Now, what are the plans for the future as far as education and enforcement? Do you guys have things planned coming up?
Actually, we do. We're going to continue really heavy on our advertising, billboards, radio spots. I think we're going to try and start up our movie theater ads again, our TV spots. One of the big things that we've been doing, actually just a couple big things that are come up. One of the big things is partnerships with the trucking industry. Probably what the general public doesn't know is that the trucking industry spends a lot of time and a lot of money trying to educate the public on how to operate the trucks. So they're responsible for a lot of this program that we're doing. So to build a partnership with this industry, and by meaning industry, I'm talking about all trucking companies. And this TAC program that we've adopted or been awarded has really launched our friendship and partnership with so many large trucking companies here in San Antonio. And a lot of the education and enforcement that we do, we couldn't do without them. So before I think it was kind of a us versus them, the police against the truckers and the drivers, which that's not what it's about. It's not what we're trying to make it about. But to now have a partnership and learning how they do things, learning what they see in the trucks versus learning how we do things, it's really helped us a lot. And by extension to that, one of the programs that we're getting ready to hopefully start in the next couple months is we're going to put an 18-wheeler or some sort of commercial vehicle out on our highway system with an officer on board. And that officer will get to see from the trucker's perspective of how the violations are committed, what type of violations are happening. That officer will then be able to document the violation, radio out to other officers working in the area, and give a description of the vehicle that committed the violation, and the officer out in the field will be able to stop that vehicle and take the appropriate action. So that's an interesting concept that was actually started in Washington State.
Right.
And so we're looking forward to that. We're really hoping that that's going to be a really high point for this project that we're working.
Now we know TAC stands for Ticketing Aggressive Cars and Trucks, but the goal is not just ticketing. It's education, it's enforcement, it's an understanding to get the message out there to be safe on the roadways. Can you talk a little bit about the overview of TAC and what it is?
The goal is to reduce accidents, safety at first, and that's all types of accidents, injury accidents, fatalities, of course, and non-entry accidents, even the minor little fender benders that you may see that disrupt the traffic flow during morning rush hour, evening rush hour. That's the goal. We really want the accidents to come down. Enforcement is just one part of it, whether it be the truck enforcement that the commercial vehicle enforcement officers provide, or that the highway or the traffic officers provide by writing tickets or warnings, or however they choose to handle that situation. But education is probably next in line under reducing the accidents. I mean, how do you get people aware of that this could be potentially an issue for it? Well, you educate them, right. And that's how we do it with our advertisement and just various other tactics with the informational cards that we hand out. So,
as far as the truck enforcement aspect, can you talk about what things you look for as far as those violations, or what you're looking for on the truck violations themselves?
For the commercial vehicle inspectors, they can really pull over a truck just for inspection purposes, so it would be really no fault to the truck driver, meaning that they didn't do anything wrong. But what we look for is driver violations, such as if they're required by federal law to have a logbook. We keep track of their time. Is it fatigue? Too many hours of driving, is that playing a factor here? Safety equipment, bad tires, cracking in the frames, unsecured loads. Several people, may have been pelted with gravel or something along those lines. So we look for those type of violations too. And if the violation is serious enough, as per federal law, we do have the authority and the responsibility to put a truck, what we refer to as out of service, which prohibits them from driving until that particular violation is fixed, roadside, or escorted to some sort of repair facility.
Okay. I guess the big point here is it doesn't matter who's at fault in the accidents. The car loses in most of these accidents. The car is going to lose. You have such a huge vehicle as an 18-wheeler, and these cars on the roadway are at a disadvantage because of their size. So we're asking all the drivers to slow down, to be courteous when you're driving, and to be aware of trucks around you, what they can see and what they can't see. Correct?
That is correct. Size definitely does play a factor in it. So just be aware, be safe, and be responsible for your driving.
Okay. Thanks so much to Officer Alsup for joining us today. I'm sure we'll all be hearing lots more about this initiative in the coming weeks and all the SAPD is doing to increase safety.
With the approach of the holidays, most of our thoughts turn to spending time with families and creating memories. It's an unfortunate reality, though, that some of our holidays may be marred by an encounter with a DWI driver.
It's refreshing to know that the SAPD's DWI and traffic units are making maximum use of their partnership within the community to make this a safe and enjoyable holiday season for everyone.
Until next time, I'm Sergeant Javier Salazar.
And I'm Officer Roger Zuniga.
And this has been Behind the Badge.